Okay, here they are. That's right. Well, that's what I...
Just calling all stations. I
we
still
gotta
remember
do this here.
So this,
Hang on a second here. Wait till my
that's CQ.
keep going.
Calling all stations. And this is what the Titanic would have sent out. S O S. And they did that. Any ship in danger would have done that until they get some response back and that sort of thing.
So is this what Fern would have used?
If a firm would have used a Morse key like this for sending out any, and it's all coded, of course, not just Morse code, but it's encoded as well.
But this is a practice board.
And this is my practice board from the early 50s before I went off and do better. Fern is, that's Fern in Morse code.
Yeah.
So, yes, right at sea. Very good. But she's on duty 24 hours a day. In the Radio Shack, 8 hours a day. Typically.
Really, this should have been done this earlier.
Maybe we'll put a stake, mark the center of it for today. Yeah. And then we'll go back and take the hole. Okay? We'll make our form. And in the hole, you guys can just finalize exactly how you want the position, right? Because it may be a little different when you see it. So we mark the center of it for today. That'll give us enough to dig the hole.
Your tape. Someone's tape is here.
Which angle you want to go on?
Cross. Cross.
You want to go straight this way?
Almost parallel to the fence sort of thing.
To find out if that's standard.
It's going to be 8 feet
I say every day's a Monday.
All right, is she going to be facing us?
What days are
So
Saturday?
she's standing here, and she has her foot this way and her foot back here, and the wave is here. Is she looking this way? No, she's looking this way. And she has her hand on the wave, and she's looking down. And inside the wave is the Battle of the Atlantic. Okay. She's facing this way. No, because she always looked out on the wave. So, because we want her to be seen from here. So, can you see me, Iris? To thank Gowran Construction, who is doing the base for us at no cost to us. This is their donation. Thank you so very much. Thank you. So, unfortunately, our sculptor lives in Lively, and that's quite far, but he will be bringing the sculpture in October for the unveiling. So October 17th, 2020 at 1:30 in the afternoon will be the unveiling. That's a Saturday, and it's going to be perfect weather. A little cooler than today, but perfect. So if we could have the members of the committee, please. Then what we'll do is just fake the work. So, Stanley, John, oh yeah, the mayor. He said he was supposed to be here, so I didn't remind him. So if he's not here,
All right, let's go.
the old mayor.
The
Old mayor.
other old mayor.
The old mayor.
So, Stanley.
We're getting right in the courts.
Stanley. Well, Stanley, you're from the Museum Foundation.
Come get a shovel. This one here.
How you doing? Not bad, not bad. How are you?
This shovel was taken off the wall.
Dad?
Good thing to have friends
With your dad? Putting in trees of
Foundation at the hospital donated this one for tonight.
Wow.
Yes.
That's right, eh? You got to have him. Well, yeah, you have to. Sure is. And he had to take one out? I was looking for my shovel from.
He has lots of conversations with
You're the trimmer here? Yeah, I'm engine in here. Okay, take off your foot.
Okay, I'm gonna go on this side, sorry.
Oh, you should. No. You don't mind.
That's okay.
And you won't see my ball again.
Sorry there. Okay.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Right over here, guys, if you can.
And I'm thinking, how big is the base, so how high up it's going to go? So Iris is I'm more asking, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Get the minutes.
Only with champagne. Yeah, exactly. Switch.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we bring up my stuff too.
Sorry, one man show.
How you doing, fine, Graham?
No, that's good. Okay, thank you. So I can hear you, Lonnie, because I want to just give me 1 sec to make sure it looks okay. Okay, that's good. So if everyone wants to just be a little quiet, appreciate it. So Leanna, if you just want to have a message to everyone, and then maybe we can clap after.
Okay. Hey, welcome everyone to the groundbreaking ceremony for the Fern Blodgett Sunday and the Battle of the Atlantic statue that's going to be located here in the Rock Garden at the far east end of Victoria Park here in Coburg. Fern Blodgett was the first professional wireless radio operator, Canadian woman, and the first to go deep sea. So she made 78 crossings of the Atlantic Ocean during the Battle of the Atlantic, and her courage and determination to play a role when usually this career was dominated by men was groundbreaking. She was truly a trailblazer, and we are pleased to be able to recognize her and her accomplishments. So here today, as part of this group, is a citizens committee that partnered with the Coburg Museum Foundation, and Stanley Isherwood is representing the foundation. And we also have Dowran Construction with us, who are laying the base for us. And in our audience, we have many of our significant donors. And if you would like to donate, you can still do so by going to the CoburgMuseum.ca and make a donation. We have almost reached our goal, so it would be a real shame if you lost out. So please feel free to donate. We certainly would appreciate it. And we know that there are Blodgetts still in Coburg, and the unveiling is going to be truly a magnificent event. So today we have our groundbreaking, and when that statue comes here, it will really be breathtaking. So thank you so much to all of you for coming out here today and for being part of this event. And while I'm at it, I would also... So Fern Blodgett Sunda was raised in Coburg, and she was the very first professional wireless radio operator, and she was the first to serve on a ship at sea. And she was refused by 2 schools and didn't give up, and she qualified in the 3rd school, and then when she was qualified as a wireless radio operator, the Navy wasn't accepting women, didn't accept women on board ship. But she was fortunate to be able to get a job as a ship's radio operator aboard the MS Mosdale, which is a Norwegian merchant marine ship. And she made 78 crossings of the Atlantic during the Battle of the Atlantic. And the ship was called the Lucky Mosedale because other people who were part of the Battle of the Atlantic couldn't believe that that ship was never sunk. And in 1943, she received a war medal for her courage and determination from the King of Norway. And she also married the captain of the ship. And she retired from sea and stayed in Norway and raised her 2 children there. So this statue commemorates Fern as a trailblazer. 22 other young Canadian women followed in her footsteps as radio operators. A few of them did marry Norwegian fellows as well. So she was a trailblazer, and she just refused to take no for an answer. But that would have been significant in itself. But the fact that she did this during the Battle of the Atlantic, which was the longest military campaign in the whole war, and without victory in the Battle of the Atlantic, probably the Allies would not have been victorious. At least this is what Winston Churchill believed. So this statue is also commemorating all of the veterans who were part of the Battle of the Atlantic, especially those who sacrificed their lives for our freedom.
Tell me about, for those that don't know, tell me about what a wireless operator would do.
A wireless operator would send out signals in Morse code to other ships, but also would decode signals that came onto her ship. And every half hour, they had to be absolutely silent for several minutes because they had to be able to hear Morse code SOS and then be able to respond if someone needed help. So what Fern Blodgett did was she mastered the Morse code system. She also was responsible for maintaining all of the equipment on the ship, so if something broke, she had to repair it. And she was responsible for all of the code books. So if the ship sunk, she had to get those code books and take them with her or jettison them because they couldn't fall into enemy hands, and then she had to get into the lifeboat and hope that she would be picked up. Now, many of these merchant marine vessels traveled in convoys that were protected by other ships. But Captain Sunda didn't like traveling in a convoy because his belief was that convoys were easy to spot by U-boats and planes and the enemy. Whereas his little vessel could zigzag across the Atlantic and avoid a lot of the traffic. So he tried to avoid convoys. Sometimes he had to be in them, but if he didn't, then he would take charge himself of his own ship.
What was his vessel?
It was the MS Mosedale. It was originally was a freighter that carried fruit and vegetables, but when the Allies took over the merchant ships, then it became a ship that transported fruit and vegetables, passengers, and equipment that was needed by the medical corps. And in fact, one of the fellows in Coburg said that he was 3 years old during the war, and when he got his first orange, he said, "I owe that to the merchant navy, and I'll never forget it."
Last question, why, you're extremely knowledgeable in this. What's the background, or what drew you to this?
Well, actually, I got a call from a woman in Sudbury who came across the story, and she asked me, "Do you know of Fern Blodgett Sunda?" And I am currently the president of the Historical Society. So I said, "Well, yes, actually." I said, "The Coburg Museum Foundation, which is partnering with our citizens group, they did a display in 2015, and they included Fern Blodgett in their display." And so I was familiar with her and her story. But as I began to do more research, I thought, she is significant. And my background is in education. And there are so many young people that I worked with who desperately wanted to do something as a career and were perhaps turned down or discouraged. And Fern wasn't. She wanted to be a sailor. She thought that she could get on board a ship if she was a radio operator, and she just kept meeting resistance, and she never gave up. And so I think that story is inspiring, and young people will be able to see that statue and say, well, she did it. Maybe I can do it. So that's what motivates